Good morning, everyone. My name is Adora Curry, and I want to welcome you to the second installment of Women Come Together. Today, we're talking about what does it mean to be a woman of color working in real estate and finance. So I have three of my friends from the real estate and finance industry here today to talk. And before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit of what this is about and what you can expect today. It takes a lot of courage to come to the table and be candid about experiences and observations in the workplace that have supported systemic racism and injustice. But it also takes humility to come to the table willing to listen and do self-inventory on ways that you have turned a blind eye or even benefited from those systems. But most of all, it shows commitment that you showed up because you're taking the first step in the transformation process and you are modeling it for others. These three women exemplify all of those things. There have been lists circling of Black-owned businesses to support, and there have been white-owned businesses that have been very firm in their stance to be more inclusive, even if they once were not. The guests today are among those, so please support them and know by participating in this conversation or even by watching online, you are also supporting this Black woman's vision. And for that, I thank all of you for tuning in today. And so with that, let's talk about real estate and finance. Please meet my friend, Kristen Hinson. She's a realtor with the Property Group, and she will be leading the discussion this morning. Take it away, Kristen.
Hey, y'all. Good morning. As Adora mentioned, I'm Kristen Hinson. I am a residential real estate agent with the Property Group. I'm also a single mama of two sweet kiddos. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I'm excited to be here and to be included and appreciate the opportunity, Adora, that you offered to host What Does It Mean to Be a Woman of Color Working in Real Estate and Finance. So we'll also let the other panelists introduce themselves. So y'all take it away, whoever wants to go next.
Sarah, you want to go ahead?
Sure. My name is Sierra Hayes. Hello, everyone out there. I'm a realtor with Rausch Coleman Homes. I do believe that this is very important. I'm excited to be a part of this group to talk about what it's like to be in real estate as a Black woman. So I'm excited. Let's do this.
I'm excited too. My name is Semah Kirmizikaya Rodriguez. I am a mortgage originator for USA Mortgage. My office is of Markham and Little Rock. I serve all of Arkansas. Sierra serves all of Arkansas too, by the way. I know that because she's a realtor, just like Kristen. We're all excited to be here today for this important and very brilliant topic that's coming up, and ready to get this discussion started.
Okay, so let me just let everybody know how this is going to go. Kristen will ask the questions because we're also providing a space where we want to listen and we want to demonstrate how that goes. So Kristen will ask the questions. Each woman will have about 3 minutes to respond. If you were out there watching in Facebook land or YouTube land, feel free to chime in the comments, and we will pull some of those and incorporate them into the discussion. And so with that, go ahead, Kristen. I'm going to back on out.
Sure. Okay. So several questions here, and we'll start with, why do you think having this conversation amongst women in our profession is critical at a time like this?
Sarah, you mind if I go ahead? It's okay. Yeah. Kristen, I think just what you said in that sentence is the most important part. This is a conversation amongst women. Yeah. So women talking to women can become a sister talking to a sister, is basically what you're saying. And a sister can be anything. For some, it's in Christ. For some, it's just, loving the person that is next to you or loving on that person. So first of all, what we want to do is get a discussion started, first of all. So that's why we're here. So these questions as we go along are going to open up a couple observations that we had, but are really, really focused on what are we going to do next? How are we going to go from here after today? We all come together, so where are we going next? So I just believe that if women come together, period, women come together, anything can happen. on top of that, we're all businesswomen. We all run some type of business. Everybody has a different mission. Once we come together, there's nothing that can stop us from thriving but ourselves or beliefs, biases, or anything. This is literally the possibility for everybody to see, hey, you know what? That person that looks like nobody I ever met or nobody I ever talked to or did business with might actually be the key to my next step. Because keeping yourself from the next relationship with your next sister might be the reason why your business didn't take off yet. Simple as it is, but it is true. You exclude people, you're not going to be able to reach everybody. So why is it important that we come together? So we can figure this out, basically, how to do it.
I'll go ahead. I believe that the reason why it's such a critical time to have this type of conversation is because it seems like racism has really just repeated itself in this time right now, with so many things going on in the world between and so much hate out here as of right now. And on top of that, me being a Black woman, it is I'm raising a Black son, things like that, of that nature. Not only am I Black, I'm a female as well, which is even harder, in my opinion. So I believe that it's very important for us to have this conversation, especially right now, again, during the time that we are. Like, for instance, with the George Floyd situation going on, so much hate up in the world. It's no better time to have this conversation and to touch these type of topics and to see how we're going to go about trying to deal with them. How are we all going to come together? And like I told my children, history has kind of repeated itself, but it's a different time now, because it's a time, the time that I'm living in now, or the time that we're living in now, is where we're all trying to come together and be there for one another. The way that I can see how many races have come together and actually standing up for one another, what's right and what's wrong. I mean, I love it. It's not what it was back then. It's a completely different time where white people are not afraid to speak out and to stand up for us. So,
and that's an amazing feeling.
Yes, it is.
Because like diving head up in, I can say from my experience, neither being Black nor white nor American nor anything, being less than 5 years in this country, witnessing a lot of racism, and now seeing that people who would usually not raise their voice call themselves even allies, almost like we in war. It's pretty outstanding. It gives you hope. It gives you hope to see that people stand up for what's right. That's all it takes. That's like smiling at somebody who is super sad. It has the same effect. It gives you the feeling that we are living in a community. We don't just live all next to each other. Especially in real estate, we're talking about living. We're talking about communities. Mm-hmm. We're talking about social structures. We're talking about safety for our kids. Funny part, all 4 of us are single moms. So we all know what it means to choose your housing, as well as choosing your profession, to give yourself, you're creating as a woman of color, doesn't matter where you go, your safe space wherever you go. You feel the necessity to do so. That is a feeling that should not be there. You should not feel like you have to defend yourself wherever you go. And we can only change that if we change society. It starts with all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with y'all. And I think, Semah, you mentioned community, and I specifically thought like to build better communities in a community where we can all thrive and feel safe and be comfortable, and where everyone has the opportunity to purchase a home and to really have that asset and build on that. And this is a great opportunity for us to bring that to the forefront, and then also throw in some continuing education as well as realtors. It's something that's touched on, of course, like the Fair Housing Act is in our contracts, and we uphold that obligation but I think there's room for continued education on that, just like there are for our contracts, and just like there is for safety and marketing and that sort of thing. So
Right.
I agree with you on that. All right, question 2. So consider this quote from a Black woman finance specialist. Being a woman of color in any field where you are underrepresented means you are at an inherent disadvantage. Do you agree with this statement or disagree, and why? And then on the flip side too, are there ways you have used your ethnicity as a strategic advantage to win business?
I'll go first. I do agree with the statement, because if I don't have nobody backing me, I don't know how I'm going to be able to just win or be able to stand in the front of or deal with anything. Far as have I used it, I haven't. I don't know about what advantages I really have or what really about sticking out just because I'm a Black woman. I don't know. I don't. It's harder in the real estate field for me, in my opinion. I have already like experienced being, and I only been in real estate for 6 months. What it feels like to be a Black woman in real estate. Like
Can you
for instance,
elaborate on that?
sure.
Yeah.
So like for instance, when they come into like this is about last week, it was a white man that came into the model home. And when I came from behind the door, I could just feel the presence of like the way he stopped. When he came in, his attitude changed. It's hurtful, but it's something that I deal with, and it's not something that I've only done. I didn't deal with that in every single job I've been in. So it's hard. It's not an advantage, in my opinion. It's not an advantage.
And in that space, I'm sorry for interjecting because I just think that's really interesting. How could your white colleagues support you in a situation like that?
Represent me.
Can you be? Yeah.
I have this one realtor that I work with. We work really well with. She's white, but the way that she praises me when we are in the presence of anyone, the way that she talks about how professional I am and this and that, is that's just what it is. You stand up for me. Kind of what it is. Be there.
That is so important. That standing up part, people don't understand. There's so much racism. We already know that. A lot of people are racist with things they don't even know that they're racist about because there is a lack of knowledge. Anytime there is a lack of knowledge, racism forms because you form opinions about groups of people that ain't got nothing to do with nothing, but share some outside features that look the same. Now, if you would fill that knowledge instead of replacing it with bias, that would make it, because when I hear somebody like Sierra talk, that is the reason I come on these public discussions and say the things I say. What do you mean you don't know what's going to make you stand out? Or, like people that have lived here, everybody have experienced the society go through different changes. Things are changing right now. Someone like Sierra, that was so outstanding to me that I wanted to work with her, should never have to sit there and ask themselves, oh my God, okay, am I going to be able to perform and show myself and I'm out here because there are people that are accepting me? Or are they going to be able to walk in their truth and just be themselves so people can just gravitate towards them, so we can leave this racism thing a little bit to the side? So the quote that you just read, Kristen, that's something. That's what has to change. You are underrepresented. I am underrepresented too. However, speaking different languages is what can make me win business. That's one thing I can do. If I was born and raised here as a Black woman, I would not have had that chance. It's important to acknowledge that I am a woman of color. I was born in Europe. That's the only reason I have these advantages because my mom gave birth to me over there. That's it. So we have to find ways to win business within our communities, within every community, not just separated. That's the most important thing. So somebody not even knowing how to use themselves to win their business, I see the biggest problem in this, the confidence. The confidence is the biggest issue. And I had talked with April about this too, and she told me the same thing. She said, just be confident and you'll do it.
Yeah. And Sierra, when you mentioned, you know, kind of standing by you, I kind of thought about back to building a community, the real estate community, in that we can focus on it. And I think it's sometimes in our industry, we're all basically business owners, right? Small business owners. We control our own business. And so in that, we can see each other as competitors. But I think, and probably you will too, like you said, you know, one agent where y'all work really well together. When you work well together, it makes the deal go way smoother, no matter who's buying the house, no matter how much the sales price is, where it's located, any of the things. If you can get along and build that community and respect each other, it goes smoother. It's, you know, and it's for your clients, for their clients, for obviously for you together. And then maybe it's something where there's a business opportunity where you didn't realize it, where maybe I don't know as much about the community that you're selling. So I need you as a, you know, as a helpful, like, hey, I don't know how this normally works, or maybe how the the POA works, or whatever it is, but we can help each other. Obviously with business, but also be better agents, and then at the same time build each other up and both be successful. There's room for everybody to have success.
And we can help each other understand different communities better too. Mm-hmm. It helps tremendously. No person that you meet is not going to teach you something. It doesn't matter. I love that you brought that up, Kristen.
Wonderful. Okay, so moving on to third question. What are some common real estate myths as they pertain to women and people of color? And then what's the reality?
Sarah, you know any myth about real estate? Or something, a bias would come in your head?
I don't know as far as myths, far as what people, for women of color, I don't know any real estate myths.
Now I can jump in if you want me to. From a consumer's perspective, I have when looking for housing, like I've always been advised that to kind of test out if I find a white realtor, to kind of like stand back and see what she's gonna show me, because typically they automatically will send African American clients to lower income communities, or, you know, not the nicest neighborhoods, regardless of what they can afford. I think that's a common, I don't know if it's a misconception or not, but I know that's a experience that a lot of people of color who are consumers have experienced. And so they're skeptical because they assume that we're always going to be put in the less desirable communities, or that we want to, and I'm not saying we don't want to live in communities with other Black people, but it's an automatic assumption that we just want to be shown neighborhoods that are densely populated with people that look like us, as opposed to being shown a more diverse selection of properties.
There's a whole law against that. When you become a mortgage banker, what Kristen had mentioned,
steering.
Steering, and there's another one. It's called redlining, because people literally used to fold out a card, red line, say this side of town we don't even do loans at. Yeah, so this is from like a mortgage banker's perspective. I know the realtors go through that training too.
That's sad.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
it's just sad
from the side.
Exactly. That's
yeah. I just want this to be like, I want it because I want you all to look at it from a lens of Kristen. Right now, you're kind of like the person for the realtors who are not of color, just to be aware of the sentiments from a consumer perspective, because I can't speak to the professional women in this business perspective, but then also for Sierra and Semah, from a person of color perspective and how you can be more advocates. Yes, there are laws against that, but I think those sentiments have been they have been passed down for generations. And so it's like, I understand there's laws, but like, how do we correct the misconception, or how do you make it very known that those are no longer the practices, or if you feel that this is happening to you, this is what to do. I can even tell you for myself as a single mom, I don't have the best credit score because I'm divorced. And, you know, my whole life was flipped upside down when I had to start all over with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
As a result of that, I was already skeptical to share my financial situation with someone. And I didn't want to be labeled as someone that wasn't worth even like wasting your time on, or help me build my credit, or to help me look for a place to live where I desire to be, because I didn't want to automatically assumed as one of those like irresponsible Black people who isn't worthy of living in a nice neighborhood, who is trifling and doesn't pay her bills without someone having the context. And to be quite frank, I haven't had a mortgage person call me back to help me with that. And so it rings true the cautions that my mom gave me when I decided to jump out into this journey.
What was she pinching in on your divorce?
Well, my mom was saying that she caught, and my mom's in her late 60s. She was explaining to me some of her experiences when we grew up in Colorado with selling a house, and how when it was assessed, like the house that they had, you know, the market value that the person told them was lower than what she knew that their house was worth. Or when she was looking for it, that they would take her to neighborhoods that she didn't desire to be in. And that's how she kind of determined if she wanted to work with that realtor or not. And she did end up finding a realtor who was white, but because she even had the Black realtors doing that. But she found one that truly saw her and what she sought to do. And that's how she made her decision as to who to do business with. And this was my mom's experience in Colorado in 2000. Well, first in 1980, and then again in 1998. And so now that I'm on this journey as a single mom, but I've gotten myself to a place financially where we can get out of our apartment, because we moved into one immediately after my divorce because I didn't know the area. I'm ready to get out, but I haven't found someone that I feel comfortable with taking my case, because my mom is my mom and she loves me. And so of course I'm going to take heed to her warnings. And then they seep in a little bit when I reach out to someone and they don't call me back to help me to figure out my financial situation, to say, well, wait a minute, even though it is 2020, maybe what my mom said did ring true, and maybe people really haven't changed.
I think, or go ahead, Semah.
No. I'm literally touching my head because this was just touching me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just, thinking back to kind of continuing education, and, you're right. The law is there, but whether people respect it or see it or know what to do when it's broken, that has to be a focus too. And then for realtors, think about this. So several years ago when Beverly Carter was murdered, right, showing homes, immediately, and she had a family driving the force behind that, but also the commission, the real estate commission, also immediately jumped to it. Brokerages were required to provide safety procedures. We signed off on them. It's a part of our continuing education, pointedly about realtor safety. So then if you think about how quickly that was all done, and again, they had a family, they had someone who was driving that bus, right? Driving that force. But could this be a similar, can we mirror that? Can we say, add an additional hour or add an additional, 30-minute section or whatever, however that works out in the continuing education process that realtors all have to take, and lenders as well. But to make it a focus, because we did in training, or to get your real estate license, yes, you do go over that. You do go over fair housing. And then it's on our contracts as well, our real estate contract. But like anything else, if it's not your top of mind awareness, you slip back into either old habits, or you forget, or you don't, you just don't have it at the top of mind awareness. And so I think that could be a moment or an opportunity where we could really do better, and that change could come.
And if every person would do their ethical due diligence just for being a human.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath, we all look the same. I think that's common sense. If everybody does their ethical due diligence too, it will help. But I also see a little bit of a solution in this, again, Adora, with bringing the dialogue together of women, because that is really key. I have helped several single moms. Guess what? Because I'm a single mom, I came here with a 3-month-old baby, divorced somebody that was in the military, and redlining was not even a thing. I didn't want to stay anywhere, period. You understand? Doesn't matter where I went, I saw these things. So just going through that experience, I will talk to every waitress, to every person that works at a gas station or places that I frequently visit just to, get business done. And I will ask them, and I would encourage everybody to do so. The times of standing around and looking and seeing what's happening are over. If you are not pinching in on the conversation, you are just quietly agreeing on everything. We know that. So with being a woman, that's your superpower. First of all, Sierra, you already knew that though. That's because what we do as moms, alone dad, plus we have a professional career. Kristen, I have to say, I have met realtors like you that were outstanding. I was about to buy a house, literally the lady, and I come from real estate, but there were some things about the house that I didn't know. Once she found out, white lady, it just so happened, okay? Once she found out that I was a single mom and that I was trying to get a couple things done on the house to, sell it for more, she was like, no. She was like, just follow me, I'll show you another house. And she showed me another investment property. Like, these things do happen, because she was wondering too. She was like, where are you from? What are you doing? And I just told her that I'm a mortgage banker and I'm a single mom. That's all she needed to know. She found out that I was married to somebody in the military that was the same way she came to Arkansas. I forgot where she's from. But she did literally warn me. She was like, this is not going to get the revenue that you're doing, that the math that you're doing is not going to come equal. But when it comes to communities, it's the same story, okay? We all know better. But even me, I am not safe from biases. Nobody is. This is something every single person has to do. Every single person has to have conversations, meet people, see who is out there. People are just scared of things that they don't know about. They only get intimidated and fear things they don't know about. So I would encourage everybody to go and have a conversation.
Yeah, and then I did want to touch too on the myth. Just one that I was kind of thinking through is that, as a single mom, you kind of think, I think that there might be, and I know I did this too, right after my divorce. I even told somebody, I managed the family, but I didn't manage the money, like, I don't know, like, he paid the bills, he did this.
A lot of women say that, yeah.
And then you think about yourself and you're like, wait, I managed the family. I can manage the money. I mean, family is the hard part, but I think that that's a myth too, in that, like, I don't manage the money. I don't know how it all works. I don't, that's too big and too daunting. I don't think I can do it. But we've all, women make decisions all day, every day for everyone else except for us. And so this is an opportunity to make a decision for us, and that could be your biggest asset too. So I think that's a myth.
And another myth is most likely also that women of color have it harder in real estate. Now, I cannot speak for realtors because I'm not a realtor. I'm a mortgage banker, and I need more people. Seriously, We need more people. We need people of color. We need people that understand what's going on in the communities. We need people that take their time to decide and work with the customer also for a longer time. Adora, you mentioned a lower credit score. We all know the system of credit scores is totally outdated. We know it, we still live by it. It's okay. However, it is very common for people to not even have credit. It's more common than you would thought. And we're not talking of people that are socioeconomically like disadvantaged or don't have money. Usually people that actually do have money don't need credit because who are they borrowing from and for what? So there is a need. And if the need only fulfills that a person of color feels more comfortable in approaching home ownership or even giving it a thought, or I work with so many people that just want to find out what they even need to do to just qualify for a mortgage. You understand? So people of color still need that help. And we can all help each other. There's no shame in saying that. There is a necessity. I know for a fact that if someone in Arkansas is needed that is a mortgage banker and speaks French, early or later, they're going to come to me. So I work with refugees. I have, for example, a refugee from Congo right now. He only speaks French. He said that the system of mortgage was even foreign to him. Just trying to extend this a little bit, when we speak of people of color, we speak, of course, about our Black people in our country, but we also speak about immigrants or Black Africans or other things. So since I've been having these conversations with these people, most what they need is basic knowledge. And I'm pretty sure my realtors here are supporting that. Most people that want home ownership don't even know where to start, first of all. That's why I keep saying dialogue. I still do homeowner classes, all types of classes. Anything can help. If you are in a church, if you're in a community, any type, extend your words, reach out to these people, write 5 things down that you need in order to buy your house. If we put more people in homes, the society we live in is going to be better. If everybody can invest the money that they're making, and housing is the most important thing. So
Yeah. Okay, what about, next question, what are some efforts made by majority realtors to ensure inclusive business practices? And how has it been received by people of color, whether those are colleagues or clients?
Does that mean? Yeah, go ahead.
One effort definitely that is there are the laws. We do have to say there are laws. Now, not everybody follows it, but I think one effort that is being made by majority realtors, that's what you said, right, Kristen?
Mm-hmm.
One effort made by majority, I think, is implementing those laws. And I would also like to believe that people who are seeking to hire for certain positions are looking to get, I would love to believe so that is happening. I think that is one effort that's going on. How it's being received as a woman of color, I love every effort, but I know that if I don't pray about this, and if I don't work through this, and if I don't deep panic myself as a woman of color going into a space and being scared to not be perceived well or anything, I will not go anywhere. So it's kind of like it goes both hands. The door needs to be opened, but unfortunately, due to the racism, I also have to be mentally healthy enough to say, hey, I'm going to take this step and I'm going to face all these girls. I've done that several times in my life. Adora, what you just talked about, my father has told me my entire life. In business, you can't be the way you are. You can't act the way you are. You can't be outspoken. You can't be direct. Not as a woman of color. My dad would tell me that over and over and over again. But I would make the effort just to see for myself and work on myself to go through that door. But I don't think that the efforts should stop nor could stop, because it's obviously still needed.
Now, I have a question too, to just elaborate on that question.
Yeah.
When and especially for the people who are watching who are like, okay, maybe we need to bring our group back into the table and put forth the effort to make sure that our realtors, especially women of color like Sierra, feel supported in this space, or for our consumers like myself to feel supported. You need to make sure you have representation, that you're bringing people from those communities. If Sierra's business, if Sierra's company wants to be more inclusive, they need to bring Sierra to the table and get her input on how to do that, because it makes no sense for an all-white company to decide what's the best way to reach out to all Black or all Latino or all Asian people. Right. And I think that's part of the problem here, especially with all these companies that have come out of late with their commitment to doing better and to being more inclusive. They're still talking to their own people about being more inclusive, as opposed to reaching out to the communities for which they want to serve and asking them for feedback, or asking them to partner with them to teach them how to be more inclusive.
I hear you.
I see a lot of situations where companies are not speaking out because I feel like they don't never know the right thing to say. So they rather not say anything at all because they feel like if I say something, it's going to be tore apart. If I don't say anything, I'm going to still be tore apart. And so I think that's kind of what I have dealt with far as my company go. But I do feel like on the end of that, actions do speak louder than words in some situations. That long as you treat me how you want to be treated, we're fine. But when you show me, or if I feel like there's a difference or I've been treated differently, then that's where the problem come in at. I haven't been treated, I will say this, as far as realtors go or other realtors I have worked with, I have not been treated badly at all or felt any type of way from any realtor that I have ever worked with, regardless of the color. So I feel like again, I said, it's a new time now. Like I explained to my children grew up, they had no idea or felt or seen color until, like I said, my daughter was racially profiled walking in a dollar store. My son was racially profiled at school. So, I mean, it's just something that you have to teach your kids. Even like I said, some adults were raised to be that way, and that's just kind of what it is. They need to be learned again. Now they should know, an adult should know right from wrong, as at this point you done grew up and you don't want your children feeling that way. But again,
Sarah, I think my question for you would be twofold. One, for the realtors, especially Black women out there, because you have a lot watching right now, and so you're kind of representing them. If they have, because you've been blessed not to experience those things at your current employer, but if a Black realtor has felt that way, like what would you say to her to be able to move forward, to continue to build her business and to stay in the business? And then on the back end of that question, for the realtors out there, or the aspiring realtors out there who look like you, who are just now, deciding to get into the business, or who have only been in for a few months, what do you say to keep them encouraged and to make them feel empowered? And what action items would you give for the business owners to support these women?
Far as what I would say to the realtors that look like me, regardless of how someone treats you, still don't let them see you sweat. Still treat them with respect. Smile. They don't like that. Smile and move on. You're not going to please everyone. Just hold your head up high. Know that there's something that I can't change the way I look. I can't change the way I was born. I can't. There's a lot of things I can change by myself, but my color is not. So my my blackness is not optional. Racism is. So there's something within themselves that is an issue, because if you don't like me because of what I look like, that's a problem within yourself. I can't change that. I can't change that.
Right there.
So what I would tell them is to fight harder, show them that you are not just another minority out here. That you are just as important as they are.
Every woman of color has to learn how to be resilient to racism. Some more, some less. Doesn't matter. It is still there. And what Sierra is saying is just what I call a survival strategy for every colored woman in business. Is literally that's what I meant with being mentally strong. You do have to show up. You might be in a room where people are literally dead undereducated, that they have no idea where you come from, your culture, what you do, nothing. They haven't never seen anything else. But you still have to be the person that is mentally stronger than this person's hate speaking out of that person. Every person of color, we come from a culture of resilience, of fighting, of still showing up and showing out. We don't just show up, we show out. Now we're doing it, we're going to show out since we're already here. So I want to pinch and piggyback right on what Sierra just said. Every person of color, you are needed in real estate. You are needed in real estate. That's what I want the message to be here, because there is an underrepresentation. Many people only feel comfortable if they can speak to people that look similar to them, not because it's their fault. It's based on their experiences. It is on us to make this up. It is on us. It's on nobody else. And gravitas is something that we're always going to keep, right? That's just my favorite sentence from you, because that really, really rings with me. Get up and still do the thing.
No, I think it's a lot of things.
No, go ahead, Sierra.
There's a lot of situations where even being, and I mean, I'm guilty of this, where I back up from saying what I want to say because I'm scared of the outcome, because we give people who are not of color so much power that we just
sometimes you don't want to deal with it, because
I'm just not going to say anything. I'm not going to go against the grain.
Right, because I would have to start from A to Z to explain to you why your racism is wrong. I ain't got that type of time.
Yeah.
We work even for time is money. Hello.
Even for these companies even for the companies we work for, when they don't, even though if you feel some type of way about your, business owner not saying anything about it, how do you address that? Because you write my check.
Right.
If I say something, then I might lose my job if I say something, or if I want you to stand up for me. So it's there's a lot of times where we be really scared and had that fear, like the same fear we have when we get pulled over by a cop. The same fear. We had that same fear for these business owners who don't speak up for us that we work for, because we don't want to look no type of way. We don't want to be angry. We don't want to lose our job. So a lot of us be quiet in the same situation as well, because we scared of what's going to happen to us.
It's another myth, that's another myth, that the loud woman, that usually happens to Black women, that they're being labeled loud for speaking up to themselves. But everybody who knows me knows I always speak up, and I don't have that fear. See, that's the difference again. That's an advantage. Kristen, you were asking us about advantages too, as the conversation carry on. Of course, I get more ideas too. And advantages, for example, that I am not scared. I am not scared to lose my job because I know someone else is going to give me a job. So you have that, but the regular American doesn't have that. The regular person who you work with, the people that you've been known 10 plus years that work next to you, that you still hold biases against, does not have that luxury. I would never sit here and act like I do not have that privilege, but I mean, that is not the type of society I want to work in. That's not the type of energy I want to surround myself in. So being that loud woman, yeah, that's definitely a myth, because there are even terms for especially men, that like to take something that a woman mentions emotionally and make it completely like ridiculous, to like just put the emphasis on how emotional it was, when it was something to be emotional about in first place. Especially the real estate industry. We're talking about lives, we're talking about homes, we're talking about families. These are all things that are the main ingredients to make a society, okay? We're talking about subdivisions, neighborhoods, and everything. So it's more important than ever to speak your truth and stand in your truth and not be afraid as a woman of color in real estate. Or even John, if you're thinking about joining real estate, I'm pretty sure get in contact with any of us and we will guide you through that, because you are needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to add, I know this question wasn't a part of our discussion, but I think, Sierra, you really just hit on the crux of why we're here today. Like, I think it took some warming up, but then it finally got like really real right here. So I want you and Kristen to kind of brainstorm ways, what you were saying about, you know, where it's not a comfortable space, where you don't really want to speak out because this person writes your check or affects your livelihood. If you were with the same company, how could you work together? Like, and I hate the word ally right now, but because I don't have another one to use right now, how can we charge our white women like Kristen, who truly want to reconcile and want to fix this and are willing to, you know, self-inspect their business practices? How can they be allies for us? What would you want to see immediately? And what steps can we start to put in place to go forward from here? And both of you, I think it's important for you to chime in.
Yeah. I mean, as I guess as basic as it sounds, as a round table, I think that there are situations where I'm not aware of, and probably the white people in general aren't aware of, because we may not have experienced that, or maybe we've seen it but have turned an eye, or maybe there's, you know, whatever that looks like. But a round table where it's a comfortable conversation, uncomfortable conversation, but a safe space to have that, and for it to be real and eye-opening, and experience it and say, okay, oh my God, I can't believe that this happens. So what do we do? And kind of like we did earlier in the conversation, how can we help? How can we give you a voice? How can we listen to your voice? How can we act after what you say? And then obviously grow from that.
I think, like, for instance, let's give a scenario. If you see your colleague, a woman of color, being treated differently than you see it, like you actually, you know, see it, and you don't say anything, I think that's where the underlying problem comes in. And it's a lot of that goes on. Like, for instance, I've been at a job before where everyone knew or was privy to me being treated differently and didn't say nothing because they were scared of them losing their job. And it's a lot of that go on. So if you see, all you can do is be there for your colleagues, stand up for them, be like, hey, that's not right. It's not okay. So again, it's more so a coming together and stepping out and stop being afraid to come together. It's a lot of that. Whereas it's like you afraid to step out. I'm afraid to stand up for you because I'm afraid of what's going to happen to me if I do it. Like if it doesn't affect me, I don't want to say anything. Where it affects somebody that you supposedly love. So that's how I feel about it.
And I want to make clear too, because I think people have said before, like, you know, a conversation doesn't solve all of our problems, and that's very true. But it's a start.
Yeah.
You know, I applaud and I thank you all for being willing to come to the table and to have the conversation. And like I said, you speak for a lot of people who are watching as well. And I hope it empowers them, those that are watching, to maybe go into their companies and initiate that conversation. And then again, and I'm going to have Kristen kind of chime in and turn over the rest of it back to you. But what do you recommend for companies to commit to stand on, instead of just giving lip service? Like, what recommendations would you have for them? And maybe what are you all doing already at the property group? Because I know you are.
Sure. I mean, and I've said this several times, back to training, but it really is the way that, I don't want to say like forces you to have, some implementation, but brings it to light and says, this is what we stand for as a company or as an industry. This is what we're going to do. This is how to do it. And I think even with as an industry, even so on like Facebook advertising. So you have a business page, you're going to advertise. And this was only, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, that, before, when you built an ad, you got to build the demographic you wanted to target, age, location. You could even do zip codes that you wanted to advertise it in, obviously by radius and stuff like that. And there were all different sorts of ways that you could do it. And again, I can't remember the exact timing, but a couple of years ago, you then had to go in and you have to select, and still to this day, you have to select that it's a housing advertisement, and you have no chance, you have no opportunity then to choose your demographic, which I think is amazing, obviously, to think about, and kind of how to touch on, Semah, what you said even earlier is, I want to work with everybody. I don't want to be exclusive. I want all the business I can get, and I want to work with, I don't care. Right. And so, that I think for a realtor or someone who is in charge of advertising for we'll just say for real estate in this specific instance, of course, that knowing and being aware of the fact that when you're building an ad and when you're marketing, that if you're not being inclusive, that you're marketing. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're doing that. So I think that going back to training and saying, here are the correct ways to work with clients, the correct ways to work with agents, lenders, home inspectors. I mean, everybody, everything that we kind of touch throughout the sales process, and saying that, not only are we upheld to this standard in our industry and the contracts that you have people sign that you need to walk them through, that's part of it. But then we also have to learn and remember and respect, again, everybody that we work with, whether they're a client or a colleague or on our side or not on our side. And I think it's a continued effort. I don't think it's a one-off conversation. And I know actions speak louder than words. But again, like you said, Adora, the conversation at least starts it. And then from there, do we work with the commission on the continuing education piece, work with our individual brokerages on how important that piece is, and kind of build on that.
Okay. And I do want to say, in doing research to prep for this conversation today, I looked at some statistics, and I noticed that the Millionaires Club in the real estate industry is actually women over 50, white women over 50. And so my hope from this conversation for all of you that are participating and for those that are watching is that we can lift each other as we climb, and we can see Sierra and some of my new friends, Janelle Prim, and some of the other ones out there listed up there as some of these Black women millionaires who have made it in the real estate industry, and that you will continue to pull other women who are jumping into the industry up as you climb.
Always.
Yeah. So I don't know. We probably have just a few minutes left to do our quick number 5 question, the last question of it. And we kind of touched on some of this, but what are ways we can work together to be more inclusive and to ensure the success of women of color in this industry. So Adora, you kind of touched on that a moment ago. No, but that's our final question on here.
Let's all just stand together. Let's all walk together. Let's get out here in these communities. It's like, for instance, I think that the realtor board or the commission sent out where people were volunteering and things like that. And I said I was going to go volunteer to pass out food and things like, just get out here in this community. That's all you could do. Don't be afraid to be, get out the norm. Stand up.
But also a little bit work on yourself. Ask yourself, what would you have done? Born and raised in Germany, I had to go through school for 13 years asking myself what I would have done during the Holocaust. There was something that was a theme throughout my entire school years, everything. So people are always supposed to ask themselves what they are doing and what their part in society is, what value they're bringing into to the communities they live in, or if they just spread hate. And if their whole existence sadly evolves around excluding other people instead of including or even doing the effort of trying to understand them, I would say the first big step is to work on yourself. Ask yourself, what are maybe biases that I hold? And none of us are excluded from that. We do that too. Everybody does that. But it's everybody's ethical responsibility to actually do self-work and ask themselves where those biases are come from. Why do you not want to sell people a house in that street? Why do you not want to show people this house in the street? What made you think that might not be a good chance? When XYZ called you up about property X, why did you mention something immediately different? These are uncomfortable conversations that every person has to do with themselves and with their families. That's just where everything starts. There is no other way. Unfortunately, even us in corporate America can't just bring out a pill or anything and say, okay, just take this and everything is going to be good. You're going to understand everything. No. This path to understanding yourself and the people that you live with is a long road. It's a long road. So let's start. Is that the homework, Adora?
No, I think Kristen's gonna assign the homework to us, but I thought I think it would be interesting for you, Kristen, to kind of have the final thought on this, and that is, as a white woman, how has it been for you to be a part of this conversation?
It's been, I don't want to say awesome because it's, we have these tough conversations, but it's eye-opening. And I use that word a lot, but it's one of those things where I didn't know it. And that's, my fault for not keeping my eyes wide open and for listening better and, and just in recognizing that the world is not perfect and that there's an opportunity today, though, to make a change. And so that's been, I was talking to someone, guys, probably a couple weeks ago, and I was like, what just like an incredible just time where we are able to, we're history is being made like right now, like we are changing history. We are changing the path. What are our kids going to think, about the decisions that we've made and the changes that we've implemented, the conversations that we've already started having and that we will continue to have. And of course, conversations, but also actions, and just what an incredible opportunity we have to actually make an impact and make a difference and make a change.
I love that.
Well, okay, homework. You mentioned homework, Semah. We are really our homework for us as panelists and then for viewers watching as well is to set up a virtual coffee or a lunch or a meeting, something like that, of someone that's in your profession or in your industry but has a different background. And to, seek an authentic relationship, to have an open conversation and goals of finding ways to share networks and skill sets, and obviously to grow business for both of you. That's your homework.
All right.
Great homework.
Yeah, I know. I talked to somebody the other day that said she has a goal of doing 4 one-on-one sessions a week, and I love that. So that I've kind of taken that and said, okay, I'm going to do that. 4 one-on-ones a week is 1 a day, and take Friday off, right? So
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, ladies, I want to thank you for taking your time out to speak to everyone and kind of be the spokesperson for your particular demographic. Sierra, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. Semah, thank you so much for your encouragement. And Kristen, thank you so much for modeling what it looks like to show up at the table and to listen and to be an active ally in this healing process. And so with that, as we close out, we are going to share the graphics because remember, we are women in business and we are here to support each other. And we definitely want to back these ladies who are here today to be a part of this conversation and to encourage everybody out there watching to press forward and do the work. So we're going to share their information, give them some business, talk about them, encourage them every step of the way. And next week, join us again at 9 o'clock. The topic is how do issues of race impact professionals of color in the nonprofit sector? So whether you're a donor, whether you're a fundraiser, whether you're a development officer, we want to see you here at the table next week at 9 o'clock. And again, stand by for these wonderful women who have given us their time so that you can get their contact information and shoot some business their way. Thank you all so much. Again, this is a vision that has been on my heart for so many years. And I just appreciate you all so much for showing up for me today because you're also supporting my business endeavor in the fact that you showed up. So thank you so much. And everybody have a fantastic Wednesday. And don't forget to do your homework.
All right.
Bye.